Strategic warning at 1600 and 900 kilometers. On September 15th, at the U.S. military base in Iwakuni, Japan, a weapon system described as a potential game-changer for China was unveiled. The U.S. Army deployed the Typhon missile system, capable of firing Tomahawk cruise missiles toward targets such as Beijing and Shanghai. At the same time, reports suggest that senior Chinese Communist Party leaders have privately discussed pausing any immediate plans for a military campaign against Taiwan. The Typhon ground-based missile system is now positioned about 900 kilometers west of Tokyo at the Iwakuni base. It can launch both Tomahawk cruise missiles and Standard 6 ballistic missiles, covering the entire Northeast Asia region. The distance from Iwakuni to Shanghai is under 1,000 kilometers, and to Beijing is about 6,000 kilometers. While U.S. officials made no provocative statements, the deployment itself sent a clear signal. Washington and Tokyo emphasized that this was only a demonstration and that no live missiles were fired. But the timing was notable. It came during the largest ever U.S.-Japan joint military exercise, running from September 11th to 25th. The exercise involves 5,200 U.S. troops and 14,000 Japanese forces, with a focus on island defense, long-range strikes, and joint operations. Observers say the Typhon's debut during this drill amounts to a rehearsal for a Taiwan conflict, underscoring U.S. readiness. In the past, Beijing's primary concern was U.S. aircraft carriers operating far out in the Pacific, which could take days or weeks to approach Chinese shores. Now, China faces a different challenge: mobile land-based missile systems disguised as ordinary trucks that can be deployed quickly and close to its coastline. This new reality has fundamentally altered the cost and risks of pursuing forceful unification with Taiwan. Beijing's desperate moment, a war planned with a preordained outcome. Recently, a rumor has been quietly circulating within China's military circles. It suggests that high-ranking officials in the Chinese Communist Party are silently delaying their plans for military action against Taiwan. The source of the leak is current affairs commentator Zai Shanying. He claims that due to unprecedented external military pressure and growing internal variables, Beijing's top leadership has reached a consensus to pause military unification plans for now. While this statement is explosive, it's important to note that it's not been officially confirmed. However, the very fact that this rumor has surfaced at this particular time indicates one thing: Beijing's military confidence is being severely shaken. The deployment of the Typhon missile system has turned the entire Taiwan Strait conflict into a deadlock simulation for the People's Liberation Army. The Bashi Channel to the south of the Taiwan Strait, straight to the north, are China's lifelines for naval passage into the Pacific. Now, the U.S. has deployed the Typhon system on Luzon Island in the Philippines, blocking the southern Bashi Channel, while another system has been placed on the Iwakuni base in Japan, shutting off the northern Miyako Strait. Both ends are effectively locked down. There's very little chance to destroy these missile systems. That's because the Typhon system is not a fixed base. It's a series of mobile missile trucks that can drive on highways. After launching a round of missiles, it can dismantle the launchers within 5 minutes and disappear onto the highway, leaving no trace. And what about the PLA's countermeasures? PLA countermeasures would need to go through multiple layers of approval from Central Command, and by the time the orders come through, at least 30 minutes will have passed. By then, it's all over. A new form of warfare, targeting the nerves, not the body. In the past, wars were about firepower and the amount of shells fired. Today, the true winner is the one who can make the enemy immobile first. The real danger of the Typhon missile system is not in its destructive power, but in its ability to target the enemy's nervous system, disrupting the entire operational structure. This new form of warfare is already demonstrated to the world by Ukraine. After 2022, Russia, despite its overwhelming equipment advantage, repeatedly found itself in a passive and uncontrollable situation on the battlefield. Because the U.S. provided Ukraine with the HIMARS rocket system, which accomplished 3 major strategic goals. 1. It specifically targeted ammunition depots and fuel shortage, throwing the Russian logistics into chaos. 2. It attacked key bridges and railway nodes, severing supply lines. 3. It fired a missile and then disappeared, making it impossible for Russian air defenses to react. The result was not that Russian forces were defeated on the front lines, but that they were worn down by continuous disruptions and destruction. While HIMARS has a range of up to 80 kilometers, the Typhon system has Tomahawk cruise missiles over 1,500 kilometers, Standard 6 missiles capable of anti-ship, air defense, and striking fixed-land targets. These missiles don't just fly far. More importantly, the aftermath of a hit is not simply losing a few people. It's the complete collapse of operational rhythm. For example, say you're preparing to bomb Taipei, but suddenly realize that your airport towers and ground facilities were already silenced by a Tomahawk missile fired from over 1,000 kilometers away. Your landing troops successfully seize the beachhead, but are devastated to find that your logistical fleet was destroyed by your Standard 6 missile before it even set off. As a commander, you try to issue orders through the military network, but the satellite station has been disabled, and no one can receive your commands. This war is not a conventional battle, but a continuous disruption of the command system. It systematically weakens you from start to finish. Traditional warfare is about manpower, firepower, and bravery. Modern warfare is about rhythm, information, and who can disrupt the other first. The Typhon system's logic targets the essence of modern warfare. It disables your reconnaissance system, leaving you unaware of who's attacking. Then, it cripples your communication network. Your orders can't reach the front lines. Finally, it disrupts your logistics. Your ammunition runs out, and wounded soldiers can't be evacuated. An army without intelligence, supply lines, or command rhythm, no matter how many soldiers it has, is a trapped force, waiting to be surrounded and annihilated. This approach doesn't spill blood on the battlefield, but will drive your command to the edge, watching helplessly as forces struggle. Some may call it a war game, but this is not a simulation. It's happening right now. The Typhon system was fully rehearsed in the Philippines. Now it's deployed in Japan's Iwakuni, with the US-Japan joint military exercises underway. The U.S. multi-domain task forces have already established their complete command reconnaissance strike chain. Even China's military journals have been extensively discussing the challenges of protecting command nodes under medium-range missile strikes. Therefore, Beijing's concerns are not exaggerated or alarmist, but stem from a deep fear of real changes in the overall situation. The Death Quartet of Amphibious Warfare. Let's break down the entire amphibious invasion of Taiwan into 4 stages and see what each step means under the threat of the Typhon system. Step 1. Gathering. Ports and airports are fully exposed, turning into target practice for Tomahawks. As the Great Battle nears, the PLA needs to gather massive forces and equipment at coastal ports and airports. In the past, this step would be detected but relatively safe. Now, these ports and airports, packed with high-value targets, are in the sights of the Typhon system, like a shooting range ready to be picked off at any moment. Step 2. Setting sail. Vital shipping routes are blocked by Typhon, while satellites and drones watch from above. A massive fleet cannot leave port quietly. It must travel through fixed shipping lanes into the open sea. This is the fleet's most vulnerable moment, essentially sticking its neck out for Typhon to target. Step 3. Crossing. The fleet is fully exposed at the central Taiwan Strait, caught in a no-win situation. When the fleet reaches the center of the Taiwan Strait, it will be fully exposed to the Typhon missile network, both from the north and the south. Above them, reconnaissance satellites and drones are everywhere, while cruise missiles are ready to launch from both ends. The fleet will be stuck, a moving target with no way out. Step 4. Landing. Lack of ammunition and supplies, command disrupted, enemy fire continues. Even if some forces manage to land under heavy fire, they will face the harshest test. While fighting the defenders, they'll need ammunition, supplies, and reinforcements. But Typhon's missiles could precisely target their supply lines, turning the beachhead into a cut-off death trap. After going through these 4 death steps, the PLA can't afford a single mistake, because this isn't a game you can restart. This is the fatal pressure brought by Typhon. It's not just about adding one more missile, but about completely rewriting the entire strategy. This war isn't about how strong you are, but whether you can endure the Typhon system's repeated, precise strikes against your most vulnerable points. It doesn't need you to fall immediately. It only needs you to fail to complete the entire amphibious invasion process. The U.S. military's open plot, the boiling frog strategy. At this point, you might be asking, how is the U.S. military pulling all of this off? Behind it lies a carefully planned, step-by-step open plot. An open plot means that all the plans are laid out in the open for you to see clearly, but there's nothing you can do about it. The script for this plot was rehearsed over a year ago in the Philippines. The sequence of events is as follows. Step 1. Under the guise of an exercise, the Typhon system is brought in April 2024. The U.S. military, under a joint military exercise, openly brought the Typhon system to the northern part of Luzon Island in the Philippines. They publicly stated that this was for the exercise, and after it concluded, the system would be removed. Beijing protested at the time, but there was nothing they could do. Step 2. After the exercise, the system refuses to leave. Once the exercise ended, the Typhon system did not leave as promised. The U.S. military found various excuses, such as needing more personnel training and further discussions with the Philippine side on future cooperation. In this way, the weapon of mass destruction went from being a temporary guest to a permanent resident. Step 3. From de facto deployment to discussions on military purchases. Once the Typhon system's presence in the Philippines became an established fact, the winds began to change. The Philippine military's top brass began to openly express interest in purchasing and equipping the Typhon system. What was once a U.S. deployment became a Philippine invitation, completely changing the nature of the situation. This boiling frog strategy is now being perfectly replicated in Japan. The demonstration at the Iwakuni base is the first step. What comes next? Will there be further joint training? After the training, will the system stay under the excuse of technical needs or combat readiness? Beijing is fully aware of this, yet helpless to stop it. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokespeople can issue strong protests at press conferences every day, but these protests seem weak and ineffective in the face of cold military reality. The brilliance of this open plot lies in its every step being on shaky ground, making it difficult to find an excuse to react. By the time you realize what's happening, the frog has already been boiled. The end of an era. The game has changed. Let's return to the initial question. Why do we say that the deployment of the Typhon system has changed the game? Because it marks the end of an era. For decades, Beijing's military strategy was largely based on one assumption. Within the first island chain, the PLA enjoyed an asymmetric advantage over countries like the US and Japan, thanks to its large stockpile of medium-range missiles. The assumption was that as long as they could prevent US aircraft carriers from approaching, they would have enough time and space to resolve the Taiwan issue. The arrival of Typhon has completely shattered this assumption. It's like a sharp surgical knife, precisely piercing China's anti-access area denial strategy. It tells Beijing, your geographical advantage no longer exists. Your missile advantage is being nullified. While China may have missiles, the US and Japan has them too, and those are more flexible and harder to defend. China's operational system is full of holes, and its weaknesses will be targeted. So, let's revisit the pause on military unification rumor. Regardless of its truth, it points to an inevitable conclusion. Under a quick response, flexible north-south crossfire island chain network created by the Typhon system, its tactical space for military invasion has been drastically compressed. The political resolve and military strength needed for success has been raised to a nearly impossible threshold. The Taiwan Strait standoff is shifting from a competition of who has the stronger will into a cold, brutal cost competition. The Typhon system's arrival has done the most important thing. It has raised the cost of war to a level that no rational decision-maker can afford. This may not be the outcome Beijing wanted, but it's the reality they face. The era of illusory confidence based on missile numbers may very well be over.